You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Come on, then. I'll bite your legs off!
I can take it.
Great power comes great responsibility. We have a hope. Get to the chopper! And leave. Just a flesh wound. I am the father.
ディメンションタイドはブラックホール兵器です。彼岸島に G を誘導し、上陸したところを消滅させる。
目が一つ。メラニュラは群れの中から一匹を選んで巨大化させる。これがメガギラスだ。トンボもゴジラもろとも消しちまえ。
これは私の仕事よ。
最大のデスバトル。ゴジラ対メガギラス G 消滅作戦。ゴジラが。
And welcome back to the 52nd episode of the Monster Movie Stompdown. Of course, you got Sludge here, my main co-host across from me
is Mark,
our brother from Texas,
Ruben.
So, and we've got still fun one, but it's definitely the weak link of the Millennium series, I think. Of course, we've gone through the Showa era of Godzilla films, and we went through the Heisei era. Now we're in the Millennium era. We just did Godzilla 2000, the first one. And today we're bringing this sequel-ish, not really sequel movie. It's the one-off film. They're all kind of one-offs, but Godzilla X Megaguirus.
It's the second reboot. It's the second reboot of the Millennium.
Yeah, because they don't mention 2000 at all in this one.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what they do in all, other than the Megagodzilla films, which will be up next.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
GMK's next. But
right.
Everything's a solo film, just single, and it just negates everything that comes before it except for the 54 film.
Which there's some more continuity after this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no continuity in the Millennium series, really, except for, like you said, Godzilla versus X Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, because then the Tokyo SOS is a direct sequel to that one, which was good because it definitely needed a direct sequel, I think, because that was just too good of a story to not continue.
I think what happened in that one, I've never read this anywhere, but I think what happened is they had more story than they could fit into one movie. So they said, you know what, let's just break it up.
Yeah, which was smart.
You know, that's my theory anyway. Yeah.
Really, really good. Not my favorite films of the Millennium, but they're a high point, definitely. Really good film. So, but we're going to tackle Godzilla X Megaguirus, or Godzilla versus Megaguirus, even though that the promo and the poster and everything's got the X instead of the versus this time around. But so it's a solo outing. So I mean, pretty much Godzilla showed up in 1954 and attacked Japan. We see that at the beginning of the film, and they can actually kind of redo a lot of the original 54 footage with the Millennium suit. With the new suit, which was kind of cool. Him attacking the diet building, the train scene. They did it all in black and white and kind of rehashed that a little bit. And then they find out that he's attacking because of nuclear energy. But then he comes back and attacks Japan again in 66 or something like that when they build their
66. And they made that look like a 66 film.
Yeah, like the sepia tone almost.
Very cool. It was very cool.
So he comes back and attacks Japan again. They're at their first nuclear power plant, and then they realize that he's attacking because of nuclear energy. So then they decide not to do nuclear energy, period, and they come up with this new plasma energy from hydrogen that they build a facility for in 96 in the capital of where they changed the capital to Osaka in this story. And Godzilla shows up and attacks again. This time, you've got some soldiers that are trying to fight against him, which is where we actually meet our main character, Lieutenant Sugimori, As she's played by Masato Tanaka. She is just a soldier, and then her lieutenant or her commanding officer, who I cannot remember the guy's name now to save my life for nothing, because he's in the Gamera films, Gamera 2. He saves her life, but he ends up getting killed by Godzilla. So it makes this vendetta that she's got against him. And then you fast forward to 2000, and they have a new kind of like the G-Force team from the 90s, but they're called G-Graspers. And their whole spiel is they're trying to protect Japan and, fight Godzilla and find a way to get rid of him or kill him, because Japan's not able to sustain energy on its own because of Godzilla. And they end up finding an engineer, mechanical engineer. The character's name's Kudo, who does phenomenal work with microengineering. We first meet him playing a trick on some kids, cooking food under a little bowl. And what they don't know is there's these little micro robots at the top of the bowl that they can't see that's cooking the food together. And so they bring him in to build this thing called the Dimension Tide, which is a weapon that shoots an artificial black hole. And the goal is to, hit Godzilla with it and send him down this black hole and get rid of him forever. So and when they first test this thing after they get it, but they've got to make it as small as possible. They want to make it, 2 meters, like 6 feet long. So that's why they brought Kudo in to be able to do that. And they make it, and then they test it on this old abandoned school building, and it works. The problem is it causes a dimensional rift for a few minutes. And in that time frame, the main bad guy, Megaguirus, well, not Megaguirus, Meganula, or no, Meganulon. No, Meganula. Yeah, that's right. There's too many megas in this one. Comes flying through and drops an egg, in which a little boy, who we really don't get to know much about in the film, he's just kind of in it here just to carry this egg pretty much. He picks this egg up, and this egg is leaking tons of water. And so he ends up putting it in the sewer, and it goes below the Shibuya district of Tokyo and ends up hatching into a Meganulon, which it may sound familiar because we originally saw the Meganulon in the original 1956 Rodan. It was that man-eating creepy caterpillar in the mines type deal.
In the mines, yeah. That was cool.
And so the Meganulon ends up, they don't explain how, but it goes from one egg to like thousands and thousands of eggs. Ends up, all these eggs, because they grow in water, emit liquid. And it ends up flooding the Shibuya district and hatches all these Meganulons, who then cocoon or not cocoon. It's kind of like what the cicadas do. It just comes out of its
cicadas.
It comes out, and then now it's a flying Meganula, and they go and they actually attack Godzilla to try and drain him of energy, to feed into the cocooned birthing Megaguirus, which is like the queen. It's the size of Godzilla instead of these smaller things. And of course, now through this, G-Graspers are trying to deal with Godzilla, and Godzilla and the Meganula fight on an island, and they decide to shoot Godzilla with the Dimension Tide. They shoot him, hit him, and doesn't work. So it looks like it wipes out most of the Meganula, and there's a big hole crater, but then Godzilla comes barreling out of the side of a mountain, and it didn't work that time. Then, of course, not long after this, Godzilla, of course, is very pissed off. And what's actually one of the cooler scenes in the movie, because he goes straight after the Megaguirus, or the Meganulas, from attacking him. So he goes to Tokyo as they do. They feed what energy they stole from Godzilla into the cocoon Megaguirus. It hatches. Battle ensues with Godzilla. He beats Megaguirus, and then they try to shoot him with a Dimension Tide again. And you think it works, maybe. But then at the end of the film, Sujimori goes back to Kudo and says, "There's an epicenter moving underneath Tokyo. We think Godzilla may have survived." Credits roll. And before Marvel ever started doing this, if you sat through the credits, you get to the end, you see the little kid who gets the egg. He puts these little, cases of bugs down. All of a sudden, the ground starts shaking, and you hear Godzilla roar. He made it. It didn't work. So, interesting film. Definitely for a unique little story, I guess. It's a one-off. But I'll let one of you guys go first. I went first, I think, last time. So, Mark, I think it's been a minute for you since you've gone first.
Well, I didn't rate it the lowest, but you know how that works. I liked the movie, but it was just okay. It wasn't the The characters were middle of the road. I mean, didn't get too excited. In fact, a couple places I had to struggle to stay awake, and so it was it was a little rough, you know. And I know we had talked about, you know, Space Godzilla before the show, and I think I liked it better, even rated it a little higher. I'm not a big fan of the suit, where I know you guys are. You guys are a little bit more, but me and Godzilla's head just aren't getting it on this. On
This one.
And it's just I don't know. It just doesn't look like it fits the rest of his body. And so my favorite part of the movie is right there at the end when you know, he grabs the stinger and just crunches it off and
in his mouth.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that was
just
pretty
blows
cool.
him away.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just excellent on it. I thought maybe, you know, the idea changes a little bit. I mean, as far as the plot in the movie, with being attacked by so many of the smaller, you know, almost what Gamera movie was like that?
Legion, Gamera 2,
almost like
I think
Legion,
we-
yeah.
yeah.
And so I thought that
Yeah.
that was pretty good, something a little bit different than the same things, but still just wasn't exciting enough for me. I just couldn't get into it. It was really difficult. So
Definitely.
that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, just not enough drama, not enough human character for me to really
Characters
get
were
into.
really lacking.
Yeah, really get
lacking.
into them, and so that was my first time seeing it, and that was my first time seeing it. Yeah, that's how, we'll finish on that one. So, on that, yeah, that's where I'm at on it, man.
Ruben, what about you, man?
Well, you know, this movie before the show, I was going to give it the lowest score, a 2. I ended up with a 2.5, but the 2.5 comes because I liked what they did with the opening sequence. I liked how they went black and white. It was very, artsy to coin a phrase. I liked how they reenacted the scenes from 1954. And from what I read, apparently they actually used some scenes in there from the original 1954. You know, I'm assuming city scenes or something like that, destruction scenes. So that was pretty cool. I liked where time jumped to 66, and they also used that same. They went to a 66 looking film, so it kind of looked like, Mothra, Godzilla versus Mothra, or Godzilla versus Kong type of look, and I really dug that. And I like 2000. It's one of my favorite costumes. Not my favorite, but one of the top. But it's one of my favorite not costumes, suits. I misspoke there. I should never call it a costume.
And I
It's
will
a
interrupt right there. The beginning of the movie was very good.
It was really
Ruben
super
was talking-
cool.
Yeah, I thought
Super
they did a great job at that. Sorry about that, Ruben.
Yeah. No problem. That's I think really, after thinking about it, that's what, that's worth something versus like Space Godzilla, the low point in the High Sea series, where they did, they did that. So I think the director started off with a bang. And if you saw this movie, you saw, oh man, this is going to be great. Look what they're doing. And then all of a sudden you're dozing off because the story is not great. And the characters just do not draw you in enough, for me to be interested. I think there's too many gaps. It's kind of, they kind of stretch out that metamorphosis to Megaguirus to me. They could have shortened that a little bit. So that, to me, that hurt the movie overall. The special effects actually weren't that bad. It's just one of these movies that I don't watch very often. So throwing it in again, and I watched it, I'm like, I remember them being worse than they really were. What I really did not like about this movie is this director went, I don't know why he did this with the freeze frame. He did a lot of freeze framing in this where they would just stop.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did it on purpose or is this bad editing or what, and then when there's the battle going on, all of a sudden I don't know if I would call it slow motion, but he like jagged it out a little bit,
Yeah, Yeah.
where it was kind of like very jaggedy. And I'm like, man, what is he going for? I said, I understand he's trying to be different and he's trying to do some things that have never been done before, but it just didn't come across for me. I'm like, no, it kind of like interrupted the battle for me in the middle. I'm like, well, wait a minute, this all of a sudden, you know, like that scene that you're talking about where he catches Megaguirus's stinger.
Yeah.
Well, there was a full freeze frame on there and it
Oh,
just
yeah.
stops.
It was
The movie
weird.
just stops.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Dead stops. And then he breaks it off. And I'm like, well, what just happened here? I want to see the whole thing. You know, the stinger comes at Godzilla and it would be a perfect time for it, like, you know, for it to, you know, hit Godzilla in the mouth, but Godzilla somehow holds on to it, fights it off. All one sequence, no freeze frame, nothing like that. Even the final scene of the movie, or not the final scene before the credits roll, when they come back and tell him, hey, there's seismic activity, they freeze frame right on her. And that's how the movie ends. And then the credits roll. And I'm like, man, you know, I know he's trying to do something different, but I just did not dig that. So I'll go with what I, you know, kind of summarize what I liked is I like the suit design. I liked it in 2000 and I like it now. I also mentioned before the show that, and I don't know if we did it during the show or not, Sludge, but you asked me what was the first time Godzilla actually appeared with a green tint. And I said, well, Megaguirus. And you said, no, actually it was 2000. And I said, well, it's the same suit. But for some reason in 2000, that green was not as outspoken, maybe it's a word.
We talked about that before.
It's not as
it
green.
wasn't
It's
apparent.
not as Hanna Barbera. That's what I
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah, and this one was really green. So when he asked me the question, I said, without hesitation, I said, well, Megaguirus. And he said, no, it's actually 2000. And I'm like, I guess it is, but it's not memorable enough for me to remember him being green in 2000 versus this one.
No. He is clearly green in this one.
Yeah,
I mean,
this one, he is green. And I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, the suit was great. And I really didn't mind the green, but it was a little distracting to me. So I like the special effects. It wasn't so bad. I mean, it was CGI along with the suits, of course, in this one. Which I don't really mind CGI as long as it's done fairly well. And this one was average. It was the best I've ever seen, but this was also, you know, early 2000s.
Yeah.
2001, right? This one? Yeah, 2001.
Well,
Early
actually
2000.
2000.
And I know we
2000
talked about it a little bit before the show.
2000.
The underwater scenes were kind of rough as far as CGI went.
Yeah.
You know, that.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, they did.
Yeah. So,
you know, I guess what they could at the time.
Yeah.
But
and you're right.
I mean,
yeah.
when the underwater sequences in the PlayStation 2 games look better, it's kind of a bit of a problem.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was kind of distracting, and the miniature work was not that great in this film. What comes to mind is that one where his foot comes stomping down on the street, and they cut to that scene, and then you just hear him, but you don't see him. Then his foot comes stomping down on what's obviously miniatures, and they aren't done very well. And so that was a little distracting, but you know, for the budget they had, which from what I saw wasn't that. I mean, they had a decent budget, but it wasn't the blockbuster budget that they had. The sound, you know, the soundtrack or the score was pretty average, except when you have the Godzilla appearing theme that's can get anybody going at any time.
Yeah.
So that was a high point of it. And other than that, man, it was really hard for me to like, okay, here's some positives. Like that first 10 minutes or not even 5 minutes, maybe, was great. And then it kind of petered out for me. And there was too much lag time between monster action, I guess. Because even when you had the metamorphosis from the I'm already getting confused. Mega from the let's see, what was that again?
This is the Meganulon to the Megaguirus or
Megaguirus, yeah.
Then
Magnola, yeah. Even the middle, you kind of like, I'm like, okay. So then, and it didn't get interesting until they were swarming Godzilla. Then it got interesting, Um, one thing I did like though is I like the fact that they make Megaguirus. Um, they gave him some real firepower as far as being able to avoid Godzilla's,
With its
blast,
speed, yeah,
and,
definitely.
with his speed and stuff. Okay, they made it where it was at least a battle, and sometimes you don't get that. Like it's apparent that Godzilla's going to win. There's no way this guy had with Megaguirus. When a Megaguirus shoots its fireball, I mean, it was so funny because I thought, well, Godzilla just shook it off. And he gets hit with the fireball, and then Godzilla just stands there for, I don't know, it seems like 20 minutes in this film. And then he keels over.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, shoot, actually do something. I'm like, man, what, because he just stands there, and you're like, all right, Godzilla said, what is this little fireball you just threw at me? And then all of a sudden, he just keels over. But that time between the being hit by the fireball, I guess you'd call it a fireball. What would you guys call it? Supersonic?
Some kind of,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. And he hits Godzilla with it, and Godzilla just kind of stares there like it didn't even affect him. Then all of a sudden he keels over like he had just had 10 margaritas and then walked outside and got hit by the air outside, and then he just keels over. So that just didn't it was just a very jagged film for me. It was fun. I mean, I like the creature design and Megaguirus creature design. Like I said, Godzilla's suit is awesome. But I did not like the G graspers. I don't even like the name. I don't know where they came up with that, but I don't like the name either. It was just G graspers. What is that?
G-force makes more sense.
Yeah, G-force makes more sense, but G graspers did not. And so it was just a bunch of little things that I didn't like, kind of erased anything good about the film for me, or the movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it got a pretty low rating. In fact, I even made the comment before that I think I'd rather watch Space Godzilla than this one, given the choice.
I don't know.
That's
about
not.
that for me.
And I know you guys probably don't agree. Maybe a lot of listeners don't, but I kind of, when I rate these films, I'm like, okay, now which one? If I had both of them sitting in front of me, which one would I throw in? And I'm telling you, 85, 90% of the time, it's going to be Space Godzilla over this one. Other than the first 10 minutes, which I'd watch and then turn it off and then go put in Space Godzilla.
Man, the first 10 minutes were great.
Now,
Super great.
Yeah, that.
Ruben,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bust your chops on this. We're talking about all
All
the stops going on in the movie, and this film won one award from the Asian Pacific Film Festival. It won the best editing award.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy right there.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna blame that on some that they were smoking some wacky tobacco.
And I agree with you. I agree 100% with you. I mean, it was it was just crazy. But yeah, I saw.
You see, but I'm not 100% convinced it was actually editing. I think the director actually did that on purpose.
Yeah,
I don't know if I
think
want
so.
to blame it on editing.
Especially when he bites that stinger off. I mean, that originally, when he first attacks him, you're looking at the back of Godzilla, and they want you to think that he just stuck it in between his eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
why it stops right there. Until
that's what I mean. I remember I was watching, like, ooh man, he got Godzilla right in the face.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, and I'm like, what? Is that I don't know. I don't know if that's editing. Or if he was actually shooting for that, or he told the editor that's what I want to do, but I don't know how I don't know how it won an editing award. I mean,
but it sure
I just
is.
do not know.
That's
But then again, those awards, especially like that, I'm like, how do you give an award for editing? I mean, it's either right or it's. I mean, I don't know. To me, I guess I'm just not that deep, man. We got to ask Justin McLean. He's a lot deeper than I'll ever be on that kind of stuff. And I don't know how you could, editing is just so, I don't know, I guess subjective. I just don't, you either, it's great editing if you don't notice that it's there. That's
Right.
to me, it's great editing. The great editing is you never notice anything, you know, you don't notice a darn thing. You know, bad editing is like I was watching Stone Cold Steve Austin has a show and he was interviewing somebody and they were sitting at a table. Okay. Go off subject just for a second for bad editing. They're sitting across the table and she's interviewing somebody and they have like a hamburger in front of them and he has nothing. So she answers the question and he's listening while he has nothing. And then they cut to him and all of a sudden there's a big hamburger right in front of him with fries. I'm like, where did that come from? You know, that's bad editing and that should never get an award. So this one, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess the editing was all right as long as somebody can tell me that the director actually wanted all those pauses and everything. And there was the funny moment was again back to wrestling, you know, kind of like when Godzilla in Monster Zero, him flying through the air to do the drop kick. You know,
Yeah.
there was a Godzilla off the top rope right on top of Megaguirus moment in this movie.
There
Quite
really
funny.
was.
You know, it was so, I think, oh my God, he's jumping off the top rope right on top of Megaguirus, you know, and it was a funny moment, you know. So this movie was fun. I'm not going to say it wasn't fun. It's just the fun moments are far and in between, you know. They're not all lined up where you could really enjoy the movie from beginning to end. So I know that's a lot to take in, but that's my take on the movie.
But I mean, we all kind of relatively gave it the same. I mean, this to me, like I stated on the last episode, this is the weak link of the Millennium series. Just like Space Godzilla was the weak link for the Heisei, Godzilla's Revenge was the weak link for the Showa. Every era's got to have a weak link, and this was it for me. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't some cool things about the film, like we mentioned. That beginning sequence.
Before you start though, I did read that this was the second lowest grossing movie in the Millennium series.
It was the second lowest grossing.
So which was the first?
Well, the first one, even though the first one actually made more money than this because of its budget,
but
it's not, and that's Final Wars. So Final Wars lost money.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, I meant to ask you before you got into it. I'm like, because I went looking. I'm like, well, which one was it?
Yeah,
what kind of budget
Wars.
did it have?
It would have the highest budget of any Godzilla film
Did it?
from Japan. Period. I can't remember exact numbers, but it was the biggest.
This one was at 8.3 million
Mhm.
US.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
it ended up
and it
doing
made
like
10.
made
Yeah,
10.
yeah.
Where Final Wars made a little bit more, but I think it made
But it cost more.
but it cost a crap ton more. I mean,
I
way
gotcha.
more. So as far as actual box office numbers, and this was the second lowest grossing film of the Millennium next to.
And you see, and I know it probably costs more, but you know, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I like Final Wars a lot more than I like this one.
Oh my gosh, man! Once Godzilla appears back on the scene, we'll get to it when we get to that film. But man, yeah.
There, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go on.
No worries. So this one, I mean, the opening sequence is awesome. I mean, I really do feel like Masaki Tezuka, and I didn't go through and name, you know, as far as letting everybody know like I normally do. I apologize. This one was directed by Masaki Tezuka. He really only has 3 major, you know, directing credit roles or directing credits, and that's Megaguirus. But he also did the Godzilla X Megagodzilla and Godzilla Tokyo US films of the Millennium series, which I think he definitely corrected his directing issues with those films.
Oh, you certainly did. Yeah,
big time. But I feel like with this one, he really kind of wanted to hit it out of the park with stuff that maybe we hadn't seen. Instead of just using original footage or stock footage, redoing the 54 stuff was super good. Doing it all black and white was really awesome. The 66 sequences was super great. I thought it was cool that he did that, and he did a lot of stuff he tried on his own. I mean, like, you know, the Meganulons kill 2 people kind of brutally in this movie. This couple walking down, like, you know, the streets, and they go and kind of stick into a little bit of an alley area just to have a couple drinks, and they just annihilate them. Which was kind of cool. But I'll get that here in just a second. But I kind of have a little bit of an issue with the Meganulons period in this film. They did that. Then you things you hadn't normally seen. The apparently heavy green Godzilla. I mean, we're talking Hanna Barbera 1970s green, super bright. But then things like we discussed as far as the fighting, him biting onto the stinger of Megaguirus, which was cool and something we've not seen before.
Yeah.
But one thing that stuck out to me was using his actual spines as a weapon. He realizes he can't actually hit Megaguirus because it's so fast. So he waits till Megaguirus comes barreling at him, and he ducks and uses his spines to sever an arm off of Megaguirus, which I thought I was like, that's cool. That's cool, So things like that, and of course we've talked before, way back when probably we were in the Showa era. I'm not a huge fan of the laser fights. You know what I mean? Like that was my biggest issue with the Heisei was there was so much more atomic rays and laser beams than actual physical fighting. This one was opposite that. There was more actual physical fighting than there was atomic laser beams. So I like that. I mean, even on the island, he's shooting them. Definitely, that's probably where he uses his ray the most. But I mean, he's smacking them, ripping them off of him, slamming his body into the mountain to try and kill the Meganulas. And he gets pretty physical with Megaguirus as well. So there's things that I liked about the movie. But unfortunately, the things that I did like about the movie was not enough to overcompensate the things I definitely did not like about the film. The plot line was just not interesting whatsoever. You know what I mean? Let's use a black hole device. Okay. How are you not going to destroy the rest of the planet? You know what I mean? Like that's a little too far-fetched for me. Even, suspend your belief is what we do with these films. But that was a little too far for me, where I'm like, there's just no way. I mean, if you're going to at least give me some kind of a half-butted explanation on how it's not going to suck the whole planet into a black hole, and we never got that, like at all.
Well, and it only partially works. It doesn't work on Godzilla.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah,
any attempt.
Yeah. But yet it allows
Megaguirus to come through.
Yeah. So
and the story behind Megaguirus was kind of weird too, because they mention it was a dimensional rift, but they never state from where. Is it from another planet? Because the only thing we know about, all of a sudden Meganula shows up in this kid's bug book, and then we got the scientist who's like, oh yeah, it's this prehistoric insect. It's like, okay, so it was. Did it come from?
It was
Earth?
a time rift.
Was it a time rift, not a dimensional rift?
I assume it's a time rift, a la Planet of the Apes.
That's what I thought. But then they called it, a dimension rift. I'm like, well, then where's it coming from? Are they aliens? Why are they from Earth if they're aliens? So just too much.
When I first saw it, I'm like, well, it opened up a wormhole, and every sci-fi movie I've ever seen that had a wormhole, usually you end up somewhere else in time.
Yeah.
And
there was just no. I just feel like they just threw out like the most ridiculous stuff they possibly could, and not give you any sort of an explanation for any of it, at all. Even like Godzilla coming and attacking because of the nuclear energy. We know he's the H-bomb created him, so that makes sense. But so they make an energy that source, the plasma energy, that's completely 100% opposite of what nuclear energy is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So they can, and yet he still comes after it. Like, why is he not just destroying electrical power plants? Like, I don't get that. And then the characters were just lackluster, man. I mean, I just could not get attached to any of these characters. I didn't care if any of them died, because they just weren't captivating in any way whatsoever. And then I had a lot of issues with the mechs, or the weaponry in this film. I felt a majority of the time, the G Graspers felt like the Guts team from Ultraman Tiga. You know what I mean? Or one of the Ultra teams is what it really felt like. I felt like he's like, oh, I love Ultraman, so let me mix some of that in here. And even the jets were just, I mean, the Gotengo.
They took a step backwards.
Oh my gosh.
They took a step backwards from the other movies.
So bad. I mean, the Gotengo from Final Wars. Which was also in the Atragon, that makes more sense and looked better on film than these jets they use here. Even the jets they use in the Megagodzilla films to carry him and help charge him, they look more realistic. So I just didn't like any of that whatsoever. And so it didn't make up for the things that I thought were super cool about the film. Then my biggest beef with this movie, the Mega Newlands. Okay. This is where my major problem comes in at. And this may be nostalgic for me. And why? I remember as a kid watching the original Rodan, the 1956 film, and the Mega Newland in that absolutely terrified me. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
when it's coming up through the mines and takes that one dude under the water and they're screaming and it's coming through and the sound it makes, or even when it attacks them in the house. I mean, every scene with the Mega Newland on screen. Because like when I started watching that movie, you know, I knew Rodan was going to show up at some point because it's on the cover, but I had no thought. Like the first half of that film, I had no idea whether or not Rodan was going to show up, and I honestly didn't care because the Mega Newland just scared everyone crap out of me, and they were the monsters in the movie. And that was just gone in this film. You know what I mean? That magic that Ishiro Honda, of course, now that's a problem too. We are comparing Ishiro Honda to, you know, Masaki Tezuka, which you can't do. It was just gone, man. And the Mega Newland have always stuck with me. I mean, even when I go back and watch Rodan, man, my favorite part of the movie, honestly, is the beginning 20, 25 minutes of the film, which Rodan's great. I mean, all the way to the end. But that first 20, 25 minutes, man, with the Mega Newlands, like, I would have taken a whole movie about them, and you could have just put Rodan in something else. And that was a huge disappointment, you know, for me in this one. If you're going to bring a classic monster back, you know, and they just did not captivate. And what
they just not, they didn't deliver on it.
No,
and you're right. Rodan had you in a sense of dread in that movie. You were actually, it was, I would call it the first part was a horror. It's like almost like a horror movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
you know?
was
absolutely, it's like a horror movie. And they could have done that with this.
They could have, and it's almost like he tried with the scene in the alley where you get the brief moment where the attack, but there was no suspense, there was no build up, there was, I mean, even the music was terrible. It just wasn't good the way that they handled it.
Yeah, it was predictable.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm gonna go hang out by this open sewer. Okay, yeah, nothing's gonna happen there. So type of deal.
Yeah. I mean,
because everybody knows if you're gonna drink a beer, you're gonna find an open sewer and park yourself right by it.
That's the way I do
so
it.
Great.
Yeah. That's the best place. Best place for it. You know, and you know, Shogo Tomiyama produced the film. Okay, and Shogo, he kind of took over the role as the producer of the monster movies, kaiju movies for Toho when Tanaka passed away. Because I mean, Tanaka and Toyama, you know, they kind of shared the role for Rebirth of Mothra before Tomoyuki had officially passed away. And because Tomoyuki Tanaka, that was the last movie he did, was Rebirth of Mothra in '96. He wrote it, and of course he produced it. But so Shogo had to kind of took over here, but it almost felt like Shogo just didn't grasp what these films or how these films were supposed to be. You know what I mean? And you could really tell in the series, because I mean the next film coming up is I think, and we'll talk about on that episode, is the truest Godzilla film in the entire Millennium era, and he had nothing really to do with the film. I mean, he's credited as a producer, but he didn't really produce it. So I don't know. Maybe it was just a mix of Masaki and his directing, trying to shoot everything and knock it out of the park and make it something you haven't seen before and cram it in an hour and a half. Maybe it was Shogo just not handling his production role. It's just, this one definitely lacked a lot for me. Still not a bad movie. I mean, it's entertaining. I will say that. The pacing's very good. And you do get to see a lot of cool stuff that you never really have seen in a Godzilla film. But that stuff, even though as cool as it is not cool enough to make up for the flaws of the movie. You know what I mean? Especially the underwater CGI, which was rough. But I mean,
and the one thing I would point out though is, I was reading that, and I would be curious to watch that version. Sci-Fi put out a version of it that was only 88 minutes long.
The Sci-Fi channel, I would like to hunt it down and find that.
Yeah. Yeah, I read that on Wikizilla, the Wikipedia. I mean,
Oh yeah. Wikizilla.
I'm hacking the name, the Wikizilla. Yeah, the Wikizilla, and it said that it released it. It was shown in America, and it released it on Sci-Fi, and it was an 88-minute version of the film, which that's a big chunk of time cut out of that movie.
For this one, oh yeah.
Because I don't agree with you. Yeah, I don't agree with you on the pacing. I thought the pacing was too slow. I thought a lot of stuff could have gone. I mean, in my opinion. And I'm like, man, I wonder what that 88-minute version that Sci-Fi put out.
Yeah, because that's like 20 minutes almost of the film gone.
Yeah, that's 20 minutes gone. I'm like, what did they cut? And was it good or bad? And since I'm not a fan of the pacing, I thought there was a lot of dead time there. But I was very curious about that when I saw that. I'm like, man, I wonder if it's out there somewhere,
And
because it's 88 minutes.
Yeah. And the pacing for me may have seemed faster because there was a lot of times where I just caught myself mentally just kind of disappearing from the movie. And I'm in, we're going back to Rodan and there's a fly on the wall, and like I look back, I just missed 10 minutes of the film,
And it's for me and Mark, for me and Mark, we just dozed off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
So the 88-minute one might actually be worth definitely viewing. It might make it definitely better. Not the worst Godzilla
I'm just
film.
picturing you watching a fly walk across the wall.
I'm like, this is more entertaining. It's not the worst Godzilla film. It's pretty close, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, it's a Godzilla film and it's still fun. But
but you ranked it ahead of Space Godzilla, and
I did.
I don't know where you would put it by Godzilla's Revenge, but
I probably
the three worst ones.
That's tough, man. Like I don't know which one I would pick. I mean, it would definitely go above Space
but
Godzilla.
Godzilla's Revenge always gets the tiebreaker because of nostalgia. It takes me back to my childhood.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
For me, it's a lot. That's kind of hard to pick. If I've had all three in front of me, I might throw in Godzilla's Revenge.
I would do the same. I would, if anything, for the crazy 70s soundtrack. That's better than
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
So much better than the soundtrack for Space Godzilla or this film. I mean, just by a long shot.
You were right, and a lot of people would probably laugh at that and say, "Oh, come on." Well, you have to take that, that nostalgia. You guys know I'm big on that nostalgia, and if it takes me back to a time when I didn't have to pay any bills, I'll take it.
Yep, same here.
Oh yeah.
Which is nice. So
when life was simple, when I just got up and my breakfast was given to me in a bowl or whatever, and I sat there and watched cartoons and didn't have to worry about a thing, So
that lets you know that one was good.
Just for me.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
But as far as this, stomp rating, we gave this a 2.5. We all kind of rounded out together on that one. Again, not the worst. I know I definitely rated Space Godzilla and 98 far worse than this. But
I didn't bring it.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah, 98 definitely. But like I said, we're just talking. All talking here. Godzilla's Revenge. I mean, is more entertaining, I think, than this film.
Yeah.
But again, as a Godzilla fan, I watch it every now and then.
You got to watch it.
Yeah,
you got to.
I mean, it's been a while since I've watched
stay loyal.
So
you got to stay loyal.
This one definitely gets picked up. Kind of rarely, but it does get picked up from time to time. It's probably been a couple years since I've seen this one actually. When I watched
this one's on this one shows up on the Sony channel once in a while.
Oh, does it?
They'll have like a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, they'll have a Saturday afternoon, and they'll go through the whole Millennium series. As a matter of fact, they will. But that Sony channel, not everybody picks it up, and the only time I get it is when they give it to me. Like they'll say, "Hey, it's a free trial or free deal." And because I don't have it normally, but once in a while it'll show up on my lineup, and they'll have it.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like if you watch Comet will show us all the time, which is great.
Yeah.
Comet shows all those show ones, and they're not bad quality either. If you ever, Comet you can catch streaming. We have it here locally. I don't know about you guys, but we have Comet here locally over the air. And, you can
no,
catch 'em
No,
on
we don't.
there.
here.
We don't have it.
So we can get it on.
Oh, really? Yeah.
but we can get it.
Yeah, you could pick it up. You could pick it up streaming
Yeah,
for free.
yeah.
But
Right. Yeah.
like I have a TV in my garage. My garage is detached, and it's way back there. So all I have is a TV in the garage, but I've got rabbit ears. That's how I pick it up. And Comet's one of the ones that come in. So Saturdays when I'm out messing
That's why-
around, when I'm out there messing.
Picking it up on rabbit ears.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's just awesome.
It's 2021.
Yeah.
He's using rabbit ears.
That's
awesome.
great.
Oh yeah, man! I got my rabbit. Yeah, you can pick up a lot of good stuff, man. With rabbit ears. So I just have rabbit ears out in the garage because my Wi-Fi won't reach out to the garage. That's how far back it is. And so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and put up these rabbit ears. So it's on Comet a lot of the times, Saturday afternoon, and they do that. It's great,
He hadn't got to the rabbit ears with aluminum foil on them yet, though.
No,
When you get to that point.
He'd be picking up major channels
Oh.
there. Yeah. So
I've been there.
Well,
I've done that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It works. It works.
Oh, yeah.
You can get anything you can get to work. But no, and it's just sitting out there. They're sitting on top of my garage. I don't have a real antenna or anything. But hey, I can watch Godzilla on Saturday afternoons while working out there. It's great.
oh,
Or
that's
barbecuing
awesome.
or whatever. So yeah.
We still
But,
got snow on the ground here, man. Don't be talking
Yeah,
barbecue
yeah.
and all that stuff because it's
We're
cold.
ways
Oh
from
man,
that.
I was 10. We were at 81 this past
Oh,
weekend.
that is
and,
wrong.
I almost popped out that barbecue pit I have in the garage. I said, well, it might be time for me to pop this thing out. But
Well, we're sitting on 39 degrees right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's
Oh,
freezing
man.
here.
But instead, I had to go watch Megaguirus, and well, barbecuing or Megaguirus. Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to go watch Megaguirus. So
That's rough.
So-
That's rough.
Well, do you guys have anything else you want to say on
Yeah.
this film?
No.
Nope.
No.
not really.
No, we're done with this
But
one.
I will say one thing, and this is a shout out to our buddy Justin. She blames Godzilla for getting her partner or her commanding officer killed. I would argue the fact that she got him killed because she wouldn't leave when he told her to leave.
That's right. That's what it was. That's her fault.
She's sitting there. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You. The only reason he's dead, if you would have listened to him when he told you 1 minute before Godzilla buried you in that buried him under that rubble, if you all would have left when he told you to leave, he'd be alive and so would you. So I don't know why you're blaming Godzilla.
That's right. It was her
I think
fault.
I think she has some internal guilt built up inside that she just cannot get rid of, and she's taking it out on poor innocent Godzilla.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
and there's a major difference because the main female lead in Godzilla X Megagodzilla coming up is a similar thing. Some people in her team die, but it's her fault, and that's the guilt she carries and deals with. Handled much better than this.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
but
handle a lot better than way better than this.
yeah.
So
And the
I just
drama
thought I'd
bill.
point that out because I gotta say, you know what, I don't want to be accused of not being deep, man.
Yeah,
Not
that's right.
reaching into a movie and,
Got to get
and,
real
and-
deep.
and dissecting the movie and find it out. So
All for you,
So-
Justin. All for you. So,
yeah, that's right. It's all for Justin, man. So you know what, Justin pointed out that I'm just a shallow monster loving guy.
Right on. Well, yes. I mean, there's not much else we could say about this one. I'm stoked about the next one. Now, of course, this month, following up to this episode, we've got Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is going to be an absolute blast.
yeah.
I mean, that's a favorite of the Universal horrors.
Yeah.
Super good, and we'll talk about how King Kong versus Godzilla totally ripped off the soundtrack from this movie.
They sure did.
Yep.
Yeah. The American version,
Yes,
anyway.
the American version.
the American version. Yeah.
Stoked about it. But the next month we come back with the next Godzilla film, which is my favorite of the Millennium series. Actually, I put this one pretty superior to a majority of the Godzilla films, and that's GMK, Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which brings in the man Shusuke Kaneko from the Gamera trilogy. His crew, not just him, his whole crew. I mean, come in for this movie. He's he directs it, he writes it, but then you've got Masahiro Yokotani, who worked on the Gamer films. He's on the he works for this one as well. His special effects crew, sans Shinji Higuchi, who was the special effects director for the Gamer films, but at this point he's off doing his own thing, directing his own movies. Of course he ends up coming and doing Attack on Titan and Shin Godzilla later on down the road, but Shinji's got his own career going at this point, so he wasn't with Shisuke, but Makoto Kamiya, Makoto Kamiya, who was the assistant director of special effects for Shinji Higuchi for the Gamer trilogy, he does the director of special effects for this film, and you could tell. I mean, it's just there's no real difference between the two. Special effects are top notch. You've got just a great cast with this one that's coming up. I'm super stoked about this one.
And that Godzilla suit design is
it's a thing of nightmares. It's
a thing of it is awesome.
It's an absolute beast.
I'm like, man, yeah.
Which talking about Makoto Kamiya, who does the special effects for GMK with Shizuki and stuff. He actually went on because he worked on Godros Biollante as assistant director, and of course he worked on the Gamer trilogy. But he actually went on to directing. He directed those last two Resident Evil CG animated films, the Resident Evil Degeneration and Resident Evil Damnation. Did you guys watch those?
Really?
No.
They're on the pledge.
Oh no, Damnation I have seen.
Yeah, he did a great job. So he went on.
I haven't seen Damnation, but I've seen Regeneration.
Oh man, both are great. Both are great.
Yeah, Regeneration is great. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course,
awesome.
he went on too. He's actually been directing. What was the name? Not the newest Ultraman Z, the one right before it, Taro's son, Ultraman Taiga. He directed a few episodes for Ultraman Taiga. I think he did a few episodes for Ultraman R&B. So, it seems like anybody who works with Shisuke Kaneko, their careers just blossom. So I'm pretty stoked for this one. There's a lot to talk about on this film when we get to it. But of course, join us again this month for Creature from the Black Lagoon. And you know what? That was going to be cool because we can take the listeners, to the real place. We've been there.
Oh, yes.
For where they filmed this movie,
I was there daily.
Yeah,
for a while.
That was childhood home for me.
Yeah,
where they filmed this movie. So, pretty stoked about this one. Cannot wait to get into it.
Are we working on any special guests on that?
We are. I'm trying. We may have a special guest. I've reached out to him and I don't want to say his name yet.
That one guy.
That one guy.
guy.
He's been on the show before.
That
one guy. And that one guy actually is being nominated for Guitarist of the Year award.
Yes.
By the way,
congratulations.
Wow.
Yes. So,
all right.
When you one guy, when you hear this, congratulations.
Yes.
And return my phone call because
In fact, I think on that award show, they are closing out the awards. They're going. They
are closing out that award show this year. That's right.
So we can see possibly Guitarist of the Year playing.
That's very true.
So.
And there's a 98% chance he'll be wearing a Godzilla shirt.
Yes.
If he's not wearing a Godzilla shirt, the 2% chance shirt is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the two shirts he wears all the time.
It's that one guy.
What you need to do is get yourself a Sludge Cast shirt and send it to him. Tell him to put it on during the show.
That would be
great.
That's what you do right there, man. Product placement.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, then of course I can't say anything yet, but we got news today. Of course, I'm in the band Awaken. Our album's fixing to drop, and then that one guy, his band, and my band will be sharing the stage this summer at a big festival. So just found out today.
Right.
Can't say the name of the festival or anything yet because
It'll be good.
They're going to announce it. Once they announce it, then we'll release it. But got some good news today. So if I get a hold of that one guy, we're going to try and get him on here for a Creature episode in a couple weeks. So, but all right,
if anybody
guys.
knows anything, they'll know who that one guy is.
They'll know who the one guy is. He smiles all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyway, but I mean, he is working on moving from state to state at the moment. So trying to get him, but I don't know if we can. But it'll be fun to have him on either
Yes.
way because
Yes.
we ain't had him on here in quite a while.
It
Last
has
time he
been a
was
while.
on was the Showa era,
Uh-oh.
so it's been a bit.
Careful. You could give it
I
away.
could give it away.
Yeah, there's
So
crazy people out there
They
that
are.
will go back and check it out.
they will, and they'll stalk that one guy.
Yeah.
So, but
We'll stock that one guy.
but all right, guys. Well, thank you all.
Leave him alone, Pete. Leave him alone.
Thank you all so much for listening. We of course we had a blast. Even though Weakest of the Millennium, still enjoyable, still
Yep.
worth the watch. Y'all check it out.
Yep.
Then come on and join us for
Yep.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes.
Which I mean, it's hard to pick what the favorite Universal monster is sometimes. I mean,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
much. But this one, man,
It's a good one.
it's a
good
oh,
one. It's a good one.
it's so good. So all right, well, this is Sludge.
And Mark.
Got Ruben in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Y'all have a good night.
See ya.
Good night.
We have a call.